Good morning, everyone. My name is Monwa BC. I'd like to welcome all of you to the UNISA Gauteng Region's Mental Health Awareness Workshop. Now, today we'll be dealing about mental health issues and the stigma surrounding this matter. I would like to call out one of our student, our student counselors from Florida campus, Mr. Mekwa Kagiso.
As Monabis has indicated, that we are happy with the numbers going up because now we are coming to address an issue that is not so comfortable talking about mental health. So it's not just mental health, but mental health wellness. So we're looking after our mental health. So it's something that is a taboo to talk about. It's something very itchy. It's something that's burning under the collar that we prefer to keep it under wraps. So I'm standing here as Mr. Kagiso Mekwa, the student counselor in the Florida Regional Service Center, as Monabis has already indicated. And then I'm glad to have been requested to do the opening and welcoming of our guests, our students, my fellow colleagues, and everyone in attendance. So this gives me a great pleasure because all of us, we are going through one thing or another in different intensities. It could be a less stress, it could be more stress, it could be depression, it could be sleeplessness, it could be any other mental health issue that we are going through. But at least we are able to survive, we are able to keep ourselves afloat, we are able to talk about it and confront it. That's what matters most. So I think today's session is very much important in order to empower us, our guests who are here, who are going to talk to us about different mental health issues that we need to be aware of, how to deal with those, how to counter those things. So I'm so glad to be standing here just to say welcome to all of you and feel free to participate. We are expecting you to share your experiences. Sometimes the information that we are getting here, it might not be your own, but it might be for someone else that you know, or for a loved one, for a friend, for a brother, for a family member that you can take home with and know how to deal with such. And it's also going to empower us how to identify those risk factors or those symptoms from our fellow brothers and sisters so that we know how to deal with that. I think also some of the speakers will also be touching on the issue of us helping those who are under those disorders or those sicknesses that need to be diagnosed, because we are not clinicians, so we cannot be diagnosing people going, that one has depression, that one has what. So we need to know what to do, where to get help, and how can we get help, and then who is at risk and who is not at risk. Because all of us, we need to visit the mental health practitioners at one stage or another. In our 5 campuses, Johannesburg, Florida, Vaal, Ekurhuleni, and Sunnyside, we have counselors and counseling managers who are ready and available to assist us telephonically, online, on Teams, and even face-to-face, that you can walk into their offices, book an appointment, and be assisted. And that service, can I tell you something that is very shocking, is that that service is for free. Free but not free. You're already paying for the service when you are a student by paying your fees. So we don't expect you to be paying the counselors in any of our offices. So that is your service that you need to be using. Imagine you are busy paying an installment of a BMW, but you're always sitting in a taxi. You are busy paying for a BMW that you never use. Some of you have been in UNISA for so many years and have never even used the service of student counseling. You should not wait until it gets so bad that you cannot help yourself. Just visit student counseling. When student counseling running workshops like this one, stress management and other workshops, attend, participate. Yes, you can keep it confidential or anonymous, but we are here to help you. Yes, we have one counselor per office in the Gauteng region, but we are promising you that we'll get back to you and we are fully aware of the issues that we are going through as students. So please share with us. If you have a friend that's going through something, refer them to us. We are looking to assist you. We are looking to be there for you. No matter what you're going through, there's no issue that's big. There's no issue that's embarrassing. Whether it's a family issue, whether it's a relational issue, whatever issue that you're going through, please come through. We are here to talk to you. We are not here to judge you. We are professionals and we are looking to assist and to welcome you into this program. So with that said, I don't want to go too much. Let me take it back now to the program director, to say thank you so much for the opportunity, and then let us all participate. Let us all avail ourselves. Yes, we are putting ourselves at risk of being exposed, but it's for our own good. When you go to your doctor, you tell the doctor where the pain is so that he can be able to assist you. Thank you so much, Monwabisi, and my colleagues, even in the background who are doing the IT, to all our organizers, to the technicians and everyone else, to our esteemed speakers. Please feel free and then share with us whatever you think is necessary for us. Thank you so much.
We have Ms. Mpho Manama, who's a clinical psychologist, who will be dealing with mental illness and mental health issues.
Good morning. Good morning, fellow students, and good morning, colleagues. And thank you very much for honoring the invitation. It's such an honor to see such a large number of people. Honestly, it's fulfilling to know that we have students that are concerned about their mental health, and they really want to know more, and they need to be equipped or empowered in different ways that will assist them. Ntate Mekwa, you have really touched on good points when you were doing your opening, because mental health, it's a taboo to our community to talk about. And we are hoping that with all the awareness that is being shared, we are opening doors to our students and the community at large, so that one would be open to actually seek help if they feel that they are no longer functioning in a good way. My topic is on mental health issues versus mental illness, because we need to be in a position to differentiate the two. They might come across as similar, but you need to be able to differentiate the two and be in a position to know when the other one is not at the right position. The most important thing that one needs to take into account is alignment. You know, when you're driving a car and you're trying to drive to the left-hand side, but it goes to the right-hand side, they will tell you, no, the wheels are not aligned. So as an individual as well, our functioning needs to be aligned. And how do you do that? With mental health, one needs to always take into account how their spheres of functioning is. If we are to look at what mental health means, it looks at your social functioning, your psychological functioning, your emotional functioning. How are all those different spheres collaborating together? How are they working together? Is the other one on a speed of 100 and the other one is at speed of 0? Or the other one is at speed of 50 and the other one is at speed of 180? So they need to be aligned. And you also check in terms of how is your thinking process, because your mental health also influences your thinking process. If you are not in harmony, your thinking process then gets affected. And what are your thoughts around certain things? When you are thinking negatively, your behavior will automatically become negative. But when your thoughts and your thinking is on a positive level, then your behavior would be on a positive level. When we look at mental health, we also check the harmony between the body, the mind, and the spirit. All these three, they are making a human being. A human being is a physical being. The body has to be functioning for that person to be in a good harmony. The mind needs to be stable for the individual to be functioning adequately. Then the spirit. What is it that you believe in? What is your spiritual practices and beliefs? And how do you make sure that they are aligned to all the other spheres of your functioning? Every day when you are living or when we are living, you have to make sure the three are aligned. If it happens that one is not aligned with the other, there's a likelihood that one will start experiencing challenges. I'll give you an example. We all sometimes experience headaches. You will wake up with a headache, you go to bed with a headache, or when you are studying, you start experiencing a headache, but you don't know where is this headache coming from. Sometimes headaches can be could be because of organic problems, could be because of medical problems. And when you go to the medical doctors, they would treat you and then you will get better. But again, headaches can be a result of an emotional imbalancement, where you find that as much as you will go to the medical doctor, as much as you will take the prescriptions, as much as you will sleep, as much as you will try to drink a liter of water, but it doesn't get better because the cause, it's not the physical, the cause, it's not the organic. We are not treating the origin of the problem. And you find that the origin of the problem is from an emotional side. And emotional side, it could be a lot of things. It could be loss, it could be relationship problems, it could be financial problems, it could be spiritual problems, it could be maybe you were recently diagnosed with a chronic medical condition and you're not coping and you're not adjusting well to that. When we talk of mental health, we look at what is it that has been happening to keep you floating. I was highlighting the effects of how mental health will now move if you're not moving on a floating sphere. How is it affected? Your feelings will be affected, your thinking process will be affected, and your actions will be affected. How you think, how you feel, and how you act. And this will also tap into your body, your mind, and your spirit. And one will ask themselves, how does it happen? What causes this imbalancement? Sometimes it could be childhood traumas. You know, most of us, there are certain things that could have happened when we were children or when you were a child. And it's now that you are struggling to come to terms with. And emotionally, you struggle to make certain decisions based on the childhood traumas that you went through. Either it could be neglect, it could be abuse, it could be certain things that were not fulfilling in your upbringing. And again, it could be social isolation and loneliness as a child or as a teenager. We're now dealing with children that are being bullied. And take in mind, bullying does not only happen in childhood. We are having adults that are being bullied. That on its own causes imbalancement in your functioning because your focus would shift from the things that you need to be attending to. It moves to the emotional trauma that you're experiencing by being bullied, either at work, by colleagues, or among your circle of friends. So one needs to take into account this fear that they are in. The other thing that we take into mind when we are looking at mental health is the system that needs to work in harmony. It's a systemic process. And when the system is affected, the outcome or the results that are expected are not always the good ones. So it's very important that the system is supported. If you are a student and an employee, a mother or a father, a sister or a brother, the system that you are in needs to have a support that it keeps on moving. As a student, you need support. As a colleague, you need support. As a sibling, you need support. So all these systems that you find yourself in, if they are not being supported, then your mental health will not be in harmony. And when I say harmony, the challenges that one is likely to experience is if at work you're not able to meet your deadlines. That affects the relationship that you have with your manager. Then your occupational functioning will be affected. And when your occupational functioning is affected, it might cause you stress, it might cause you sleepless nights, it might cause you loss of interest. You might even think of wanting to quit. You might think of wanting to move to another department. And as a student, you might find that amongst your group members, you're not having a good relationship with another member, and you might feel maybe I should look for another group. And in that way, you are moving and shifting with the hope that the stress that you are feeling will not be there. But then how is your problem solving skills in that regard? How is your choices in that regard? So it's very important that when there is that stress, when there is that challenge, deal with it at that time, because the more it's kept, the more it keeps on ongoing, it affects your functioning. And when such functioning is affected, you start presenting with certain symptoms. That's when we talk of your mental illness. So your mental health, it's the harmony of the progress in terms of your system's functioning. Then your mental illness is when the system is no longer in a harmonious space. Then you start presenting with certain symptoms. And such symptoms are affecting your spheres of functioning. Could be educational, could be occupational, could be relationships, and could be financial. You find yourself making impulsive decisions when it comes to how you use your finances. And such symptoms, if they continue persistently, they are likely to meet a certain diagnosis of a mental illness. And when you do meet that diagnosis, that's when you will be diagnosed with a specific mental illness. So symptoms that one is likely to experience if there's a misalignment in different spheres of functioning would be loss of interest, would be lack of appetite. Those are minor, like they might appear as, it's an everyday thing. I sometimes don't feel like eating. But then how persistent is that? Then you might feel, sometimes I'm no longer interested in the degree that I'm doing. I'm no longer interested in the diploma that I'm doing. It might be an often kind of a feeling. But how persistent is that? And how often does it come? And which sphere of your functioning is it affecting? Sometimes you might have insomnia, like lack of sleep. You do not have enough sleep. Or you sleep 2 hours and after 2 hours you are awake. You try to go back to sleep and you struggle to get back to sleep. And when you are to function at work, or when you are to function at school, or during the day, functioning it's impossible. You find yourself trying to compensate on the sleep that you did not have the previous night. And again, other symptoms could be relational problems. You are now an irritable person. When you are irritable, then people are no longer wanting to be associated with you because they are not finding you to be the person that they can share their lives with. You are easy to be agitated. You get angry easily, or you struggle to listen to reason. When people are trying to reason with you, I did not manage to do this because of load shedding, and you just get irritable and struggle to understand what could have led to that. Such symptoms one needs to take into account, and it's very important that as much as we are sharing with you these symptoms, when you identify them in yourself or in your colleagues or in your group mates, try to avoid pinpointing and labeling, because they would need a professional individual to be able to group them together and ultimately indicate what is this all about? What is the cause of the symptoms? When they are grouped together, what do they mean? Because I know it's a norm around people say this person has this person has depression, this person has stress, and you find that it becomes difficult for the person to actually own up to what they are going through because of the fear of being known to be having such. So we need to refrain or not do that to our fellow students or our fellow colleagues in that regard. And as I conclude, one would expect that as we continue taking into account our emotions, our feelings, and our thoughts, we will also check our actions if they are aligned to how we feel and how we think. And again, what is it that contributes or influence the actions that we do and the practices that we ultimately go ahead with? Is it from our thinking process or from our emotions? And are they both aligned? And lastly, always check your educational sphere of functioning if it's okay. Check your occupational sphere of functioning if you are an employee. Check your social sphere of functioning in all your aspects, be it at home, be it at work, be it with an intimate relationship or relationships in general. Check your interpersonal sphere of functioning. How do you relate to people interpersonally? And how do you relate to people in different relations? And finally, check your financial state of functioning and what is it that influences all the decisions that you are taking in that regard. There are different platforms that one can go to actually investigate what is it that you need to do to improve on certain things. We have student counselors, we have counselors, we have social workers, we have different professionals in the helping professions that they can assist in that regard. I thank you. Fellow students, one needs to understand that it's not always going to be a smooth ride. There are times that challenges are to be there. Like, you should not expect that always everything would be okay. But when it's not okay, what is it that you need to do? Keeping positive thoughts, it comes with different ways. One, you need to identify when the negative has now, that the negative is now around, because you will realize that I'm no longer the individual that I was prior the negative that comes. Then what do you do? You either consult. Two, you can start by doing certain things prior you actually consult. We need to be equipped with different coping mechanisms. And we also need to realize that we have different thresholds. Thresholds means one can bear a certain problem to a certain extent. A certain problem might seem easier to deal with to someone, but to the other person, it's actually a difficult problem to deal with. And that is due to threshold. To a certain extent, you have like maybe a cup. Your cup, it's not the same size as your colleague's cup. You might find that your cup can only take to a certain extent, and your colleague's cup takes even more to what you can. So when your cup is empty, you need to refill it. And when your cup is out to the rim, then it means you're functioning at an optimal state. But when it's empty, you're actually functioning at a reserve, and you need to be revived, and it needs to be refilled so that you are functioning optimally. So if you are having negative thoughts, there's what we say is cognitive restructuring. For example, sometimes you might feel like me going to parties and me going to social things, these are influencing me negatively, and you start thinking that's a negative way of doing things. But on the second note, you're going to social activities is where you're going to engage to possible people that are going to assist you with the module that you're struggling with. So it's not always a negative connotation when you are to go to social activities as you are thinking of it from a negative point. You can actually reconstruct that thought and think about it in a positive way, that I am to meet people that are likely to assist me with modules that I'm struggling with, and build relationships that are going to assist me to actually progress and pass my modules. So that's how you ultimately move from the negative to the positive. And if that does not happen, it's always advisable to consult so that we investigate further what is it that is moving you from the positive to the negative, because there is always an underlying information.
I'm Venetia Gordon. I am the operations manager at SADAG, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. And I know today we're talking mental illness, there's a lot about stigma, and I think it's so important to start at the crux, right? And I was just, as I came in, I was listening to all the different questions and listening to the other speakers, and I think it's so valuable to share this information. But what I think is even more valuable is the fact that there's so many questions. There's so many people that are willing to ask their question or willing to, share an experience, because I saw in the chat box. And I think that is an absolute lovely thing, because that's the way that we change the narrative. That's the way we allow more conversations around mental health. So platforms like this, places like this, where we can share, speak, and also maybe share some of the coping skills and share our experiences is so valuable. Actually, it's invaluable, so that we can all be those people that are sharing our experiences, so it encourages other people to share theirs. So I just want to start off with who is SADAG and what we do and what we stand for. Right? So 1994 to help patients with depressive and anxiety disorders. We offer free telephonic counseling, so you can call us from any cell phone, any landline, and it's completely free, because all our numbers are 0800 numbers, so we bear the cost of that. So knowing that we provide this telephonic counseling, we provide information, referrals, and not just in Gauteng or in Cape Town or in Durban, but across the country and across provinces. We also run the only national suicide crisis helpline that has been running for now 29 years. And we do a lot of crisis management, a lot of case management, so that we can help that person over the phone. We also have various other helplines that are dedicated helplines for different projects that I'm going to share a little bit later, the numbers that actually you guys can use on this platform. We are open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So whether it be public holidays, whether it be late at night at 2 o'clock in the morning, or whether it be a weekend, we are always available and always here to offer this help. We also have a lot of informative material. So if you go onto our website, you'll see toolkits, articles, information, webinars. If you go onto our Facebook Friday, Instagram pages, the whole social media jazz, is that we have so much content that is there. So please have a look. We also do school outreach, and when we do our school outreach, SADAG is mandated to do school talks class by class. And in addition to doing those school talk class by class, we also do parents talks and teacher talks, because then we're sharing the information across the board. So you have students that are, given the information around warning signs, given the information of where to reach out, but you also have teachers and parents who are aware of the information that their kids have received. We also do corporate wellness events. We also do rural community projects. We have 2 counseling containers, one in Diepsloot and one in Ivory Park, where we provide free counseling to all of those people that live within those areas. We also have a huge network of different resources within those areas that can actually help people get the needed support and help that they might need. We also at the moment have over 160 support groups. Support groups is very close to SADC's heart because it actually started as a support group. Some of these support groups are still run online, some face-to-face, and some have and I want to say dual. Some are like both online and face-to-face. So please reach out if you want to find out about support groups, find out a little bit more around what it means to have support groups and what the value is. Please reach out. I'm going to tackle a little bit later just around the peer support groups that SADC has launched, because specifically then students can attend. I wanted to touch on a little bit around mental health in South Africa, where I think it's important to note these numbers, right? 1 in 3 South Africans will or do suffer from a mental illness at some point in their life. 75% of people who have attempted suicide have undiagnosed depression, and only 25% of people with a mental illness access or will access treatment in their lifespan. That means it leaves 75% of them actually not accessing treatment at all. And this can be for various reasons. It can be for stigma. It can be they don't know where to go. They don't know how to navigate the treatment system. Or they just don't want to share that I am actually not feeling well. Every 24 hours in South Africa, there are 23 completed suicides and over 460 suicide attempts. And these stats might be incorrect because, remember, there is a very, and I want to say this in the nicest way possible, is that reporting around suicides is very difficult. People are not reporting. So these are not also the true numbers, but it is huge. Because 23 completed suicides in a day, that means it's almost every hour that there is a completed suicide. And that is just not all the stats as well. It is noted, according to the World Health Organization, that males are 4 times more by suicide compared to females. And I always have the stat and I always want to unpack it because it's so important to unpack a stat like this, right? Males are more likely to die by suicide compared to females, but why? It's because females tend to talk, right? If they had a bad day, they had a bad situation. Okay, so I want to unpack the men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than females. It's because females do tend to talk a lot more. They talk to a friend, they talk to a mom, they talk to a sister, they share their sadness, their experience, and whatever happened that was bad in the day. Males, on the other hand, do not share as quickly that they're feeling sad, that they're feeling down, that they're feeling low. And often when they do reach out, it's often at the end in the more acute space. So they really are doing deeply, and that's when they reach out. And this is where that stats comes from. This also speaks to the stigma associated with men don't cry, boys don't cry. We need to be those people who change this narrative and say that, you know, we're all equal, we're all the same, we all feel emotion, and we all are able to reach out when we're feeling low, when we're feeling down, and create these safe spaces for us to have these conversations. I wanted to just touch on very briefly, what is mental health? Mental health includes your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects the way we think, feel, and act. And it also determines how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and it also impacts the choices that we make and the kinds of choices that we make. Mental health is important at every single stage of our lives. So whether it be in childhood, adulthood, and especially as a student, because you are also now in that space where you are developing your sense of self. What is stress? So stress is your perceived demands that are on you. So it can be assignments, it can be tests, it can be, working, and this directly relates to the coping resources that you have now put in your toolbox, right? And you'll notice that I'll talk a lot around the toolbox and a lot around all of these coping skills and self-help stuff that you have put in this toolbox. So stress is also anything that upsets the body's natural balance. It's forces from outside the world that are impacting and affecting this individual. We must remember, though, stress is a part of our lives, and we need to highlight that every single person experiences stress. It doesn't mean that I experience stress the same as you. We absolutely are very unique in that, but it does mean that every single person experiences some sort of stress. But what is important also to remember at the end of the day is that we as individuals need to be very much aware of what causes us stress, our unique self, and what our specific symptoms are. I wanted to also touch on and say that all stress is not bad. Stress can be exciting, right? It keeps you on your toes. So some of you are the type of students that will do your assignment last minute because you need that stress to actually complete the assignment. And some of us get excited and, some of us excited when we're planning a birthday or a wedding, and this can be so stressful. It's exciting because you're actually okay, but too much stress can have a negative effect, and it doesn't only have a negative effect on our bodies, but it impacts our mind, it impacts the way we do things, the way we carry out our daily routines. And this is where we need to be very aware of what those negative effects are and how we can possibly fix it. Common sources of stress: relationships, extreme demands, change, things that just happen. So it can be a car accident, it can be a loss of a loved one, it can be, that you got stuck in traffic, or there's load shedding and you couldn't do your assignment. I know that there was something mentioned around that earlier when I just popped in. And then there's things needing action to happen. So things like, you're moving to a different space and now you're having to pack all your things and then unpack all your things, and it might be in between assessments and assignments and exams. This is very important, and I think it's so important to highlight the symptoms of stress, because a lot of us actually, especially when it comes to the emotional behavioral symptoms, these can be that we're experiencing it for a week or 2 weeks, but we're not aware that we're experiencing these symptoms. Whereas when we have the physical symptoms, that's more noticeable, right? When you have a neck pain, when you have a headache or a migraine, we know that we have to do something about it. On the other hand, as I mentioned, the emotional and behavioral symptoms can last a lot longer and often are impacting us during that 2 weeks, right? So it's nervousness, anxiety, the change in eating habits. So you might, not feel like you want to eat at all. You might be overeating because that's helping you feel a little bit of comfort. Lack of energy, mood swings, irritated or snappy with people or loved ones, feeling weepy or sad, feeling tired all the time. You're experiencing lack of concentration and you're feeling distracted. So you might be within this talk right now, but you're so distracted with things that you have to still do. So you're not completely present. Lack of performance, negative thinking, and being pessimistic. I must say that when it comes to the physical symptoms, sleep disturbances, so your sleep impacts you a lot. And I know that I always highlight this, and it's always something that I talk on so extensively, is that we don't realize the impact sleep has for us. Rest is so important for our mental health, because it actually impacts the way we behave with others, the way we interact with others, and it also impacts the way we concentrate on assignments, on our work, on what actually is the thing that we have to do next. Stress versus burnout. And I thought this is a very nice slide to just put it all together and say that what is stress and what is burnout. Often we use burnout as in like, okay, I'm burnt out, but we are not sure that we are really burnt out. We might just be overwhelmed. So putting this into perspective helps us know, what must we do next? Must we get help for burnout? Must we manage self-help tips and coping skills to manage the stress that we might be under? So stress is when we put too much effort into, for example, let's talk about an assignment. We put too much effort into this, so we're stressed about it, but we're putting a lot of effort. We're finding resources. You need to complete this assignment. Burnout is when you cannot actually say, I am reading what this assignment is about, and then actually getting to do it. You actually cannot. You do not have the capacity to actually do the work. Stress is when you feel the emotions more strongly, and burnt out is when those emotions are actually blunted. You feel drained and helpless and unmotivated, and this often takes a huge emotional toll because you cannot get to that next step. You cannot do the work that needs to come next, and you need to get help when you're in this space. I'm going to give you all the numbers and all the resources for you to find just now. What are triggers? And I think this is always important to share, especially for students, is that we need to be aware of what actually triggers our stress, right? And what heightens them. It can be family relationships. It can be divorce and separation. So whether it be us that are being divorced or getting separated, or whether it be a family member. Economic stress within the family. We know that within South Africa, there's so many financial issues at the moment. The rising cost of living, the difficulties that a lot of people are feeling. Trauma, bullying, a death of a loved one. We do know that within the COVID space, a lot of us have lost loved ones, and we might not have given ourselves enough time to actually grieve that loved one. Chronic illness. So that can be either you struggling with a chronic illness or a loved one, performing poorly at school, and being self-critical for not meeting expectations. And not only the expectations of our loved ones on us, but also our expectations, where we wanted to finish at the end of the year, we wanted to do this at the end of the next year. You know, a lot of us have that 5-year plan. Not feeling like you fit in. And substance abuse can be a huge trigger, and it's so important to highlight because we know that students, you know, do tend to be prone to actually using substances when they start their studying career. It is something that is a struggle within this country. Mental health on the spectrum, and I think this slide is always my most favorite slide, and I can talk on this for days, which I will not because I have quite a few slides to still get through. But it's so important, and you can take a picture of this because I think it's valuable for us to do a check with ourselves, right? And say, where are we on this mental health spectrum and what can we do about it? So say, for example, and I'm going to use sleep again, is that you haven't slept for like 5 days now, or you haven't slept well for 5 days, and you're feeling low energy and you're having muscle tensions. That means you might be in the responding and reacting space. But it also means that what am I going to do to get into this healthy space? So it's almost like, okay, I'm aware. I know that I haven't slept for 5 days. I'm going to try a sleep routine. I'm going to try and take a shower before I go to bed. I'm going to maybe limit my social media to, you know, not look at my phone for an hour before I go to sleep or 2 hours before I go to sleep. Things like that. Maybe I listen to a meditation or calming instrumental music. Doing something for us to get back into this healthy space is so valuable. And this is what this helps us put us into that block. So you can use this and literally tick off what you are feeling right now. So you can see, where am I and what am I going to do? And this is how you check where you are. So rating your mental health. And please, I know in the chat box, I can't see it right now, but please in the chat box, will you be able to share, where are you right now? How are you feeling in this moment where 1 is not doing well and 10 is doing absolutely brilliant? You are feeling so great and so happy today. Asking yourself questions when you do the mental health checking. Have I eaten? When last did I walk around and stretch? I know that this has been a session from 10 o'clock. Maybe you haven't stretched. So maybe everyone just lift their hands up. And I promise you I'm doing it. Is that lift your hands up and just stretch your arms around you so that you feel a little bit more movie and you feel all that blood flow. Doing a body check and doing a breath check can be so important. And I know that I mentioned this before, but maybe you're listening to this presentation, but you're thinking about something else. So where is my headspace right now? Being completely present is a huge, huge, huge concentration issue. build resilience within your team. And I think this is very valuable because we all have WhatsApp groups, right? Tons and tons of WhatsApp groups, whether it be study groups, whether it be friend groups, whether it be family groups, whether it be favorite family groups. I know we all have them. Do those mental health check-ins within that group. You are the one that's going to change the narrative around mental health, right? You are going to change this conversation. You are going to say, how are you feeling right now? Let's share. Maybe if you saw a nice self-care video, you share it on the group, a nice podcast. Share maybe that you did yoga, or you went for a run, or you went for a walk, just to look after your mental health. And maybe one of those people within that group will actually be like, you know, Mary did this. I'm also going to try. Student support services. And this is where I come with all of the services and all of the resources that are available to you. We have the dedicated Higher Health Helpline. That is the number 0800 36 36 36. We also have a dedicated SMS number. So you as a student or a staff member can reach out on the SMS number and a counselor will call you back. We also have the Discovery Medical Students and Young Doctors Helpline that is dedicated to medical students across the country to help them with their mental health and also help in a crisis. What is available? All of these helplines are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As I mentioned, free telephonic counseling, crisis intervention, follow-up calls and case management, and nationwide resources and referrals. Remember, you can remain anonymous and understand that every single call is completely confidential. It's you and that counselor on that call, and you are able to share all of your experiences for them to help you navigate what to do next, what the next steps are, how can I get the help, and how can I manage within this day. You can also ask them to do a check-in call with you in the next 3 days or tomorrow or this evening, because as you know, we're available 24 hours a day. We have access, and I think it's so important to know, we have access to student wellness and student support services. We also have access to dedicated psychologists, which are province-based through the Higher Health Project, where we can provide you with a referral to a psychologist that can either offer you face-to-face or virtual sessions completely free. How SADC can help in an emergency. So we do crisis intervention, we speak to you as a student or a staff member, we assist and we guide, and we offer these referrals to doctors, hospitals, and other counseling services that might be in your area. Standard of case management, we do those follow-up calls, we check in with you, we make sure those coping skills are actually helping you, and if the coping skills given by the counselor in the first call is not working for you, we're able then to give you more of them. Because remember, as I mentioned, is that each of us are completely unique and we have different ways in which we deal with things and manage things. I wanted to actually touch on this, factors that increase the risk of mental illness, specifically within a university or tertiary setting. It is finances and living arrangements. It's relationships, whether it be romantic or family, the expertise. So now you might be an adult and you're having to work and study. The academic pressure. If you're in first year, that means it's a huge jump from, studying 1 or 2 books in matric and now having to study 5 textbooks for the year in your first year. Then you move on to second year and third year, and often what happens, the workload becomes a lot more as the years continue. Transition to university, so maybe you went to a normal face-to-face university and now you're doing the correspondence learning, which can be a little bit of a difficult situation. Adapting to the online and hybrid learning can be very hard. I can only imagine the first years that are in this space right now. You went from being in school, doing online learning, then going to school for a little bit of the time, then you're going back to school fully, then back to hybrid, and it's been adapting. So please know that you have adapted, you have managed in the space. It is very difficult, but, and I think it's such a big but, is that you have done wonderfully. I think it's so important to know that we've gotten through that space, and to give yourself a huge step on the back to say that I have gotten through this space, through this very difficult adapting space, and I'm still okay, and I'm busy with my studies now. If mental illness goes untreated, why mental illness goes untreated, and I think it's so important to highlight this, is that often people don't see the symptoms within themselves. They don't see that their hygiene has gone a little bit low, a little bit less. They're not looking after themselves. They might be sleeping a lot more, not sleeping at all. The eating habits have changed. They're not wanting to interact with loved ones or interact with anyone, so they might be isolating themselves, and they're not noticing these symptoms within themselves. They often don't know enough about the illness, and I'll always say this, is that knowledge is definitely power. It's so important to know about anxiety, know about depression, know about mental illness, so that we might be able to help ourselves or others. They often feel guilty about their symptoms. For example, if you're feeling tired all the time and you're wanting to sleep, you might feel guilty that, I am sleeping all the time and I'm not interacting with my loved ones, and I might be feeling bad about it. Wanting to avoid stigma. And this is a huge thing, to not be labeled and say that, I have anxiety and I have depression or I have this. And I think it's so important to know that this is where also that the narrative needs to change around mental illness. You might view mental illness or your mental health as a weakness or a failure, and it isn't that. The same way we reach out to our GPs when we're feeling thirsty, when we're feeling lethargic, and we're not feeling well. Now we go to the doctor and they do, a glucose test, a sugar test, and they tell us, what, now you are diabetic. This is what the diagnosis is. This is what the treatment is. You have to eat a healthy diet. You have to take your medication. You have to make sure you don't have sugar in your diet. You have to, keep up with exercise, look after yourself. We take that information and we actually follow that treatment. It needs to be the same with depression and anxiety and any mental illness. We need to have that, simple conversation to say that, yes, we have a diagnosis, but yes, we also have a treatment, and we can always also, with this treatment, live the best quality life that we can. Often when they have no support can also be a reason why why it goes untreated. Lack of finance or access to specialists. Also misconceptions with regard to cultural aspects are a huge factor here. And if they fail to take their medication or comply with their therapeutic interventions, they might not be going to therapy. They might have said that the medication is not working for them and they just stop. I wanted to touch on this, and I know that there was a little bit of conversation around suicide and suicide prevention, and I wanted to highlight the warning signs because I think it's so important to have these conversations. Is that if somebody is talking or writing or posting online around death or dying or hurting themselves, and even saying things like, I wish I weren't here anymore, or the world would be a better space or my family will be better off if I'm not around. These are all warning signs, and it's so important to be aware of this and act on it. Maybe the person might be withdrawing, so isolating themselves. Their eating and sleeping habits have changed. They might be agitated. They might be giving away their favorite possessions, Also, another warning sign with regards to is mood, the loss of interest, right? Feeling rage, maybe experiencing symptoms of anxiety and depression. And you might be noticing those things in yourself or a loved one. And what you can do, and what is so important, is to ask about it. I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, but if you approach Mary and you're like, I've noticed, Mary, you haven't been looking after yourself. Something is definitely the matter. Know that I am here if you need to talk about it. And I think it's so important for us who are asking that question is to be able to listen to that person. Listen to them and say, okay, they might be telling you, I have been feeling low, I have been feeling down. But knowing also, as the person that's asking, that you don't have to fix it. It's not for you to fix the situation or give them the answer. It's for you to connect them to help. So whether you're sitting with them and they phone into the helpline, or whether you give them the number and say that, you know, this is a number, or whether you phone for them and you give them that phone and you say, speak to the counselor, I'm sitting right here if you need to hold my hand or just be present there. It's so important within this space, especially because I know that you're probably busy with assignments and exams are coming up soon, is to promote positive coping styles. So use your self-care tips, use your distraction techniques, relaxation techniques with meditation, instrumental music, sensory coping skills. So, you know, touch. I'm going to go through one just now. Emotional coping skills. So whether it be journaling or painting or something that lets out that emotion. Don't get stuck in the negative coping skills of comfort eating, of sleeping too much, of overindulging in illegal substances and enabling bad habits or lifestyle. This is just 10 ways to actually look after your mental health. Remember, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Every single person is going to do something different, and it's going to help them in a different way. I just wanted to highlight that we have the Discovery Medical Students and Young Doctors Helpline that is completely free to call, as well as the Higher Health Helpline that is accessible for every university and tertiary institution across the country. Also, what a wonderful resource is, and a space where you can actually connect, is our peer support groups. If you go onto our website, you'll be able to click on the link. If you want to find out more, phone into the Higher Health Helpline. They'll be able to send you a link or send you, you know, the resource or the link that is on our website. A peer support group is a safe space for students to share their experiences and coping skills. It's a space for extra or more support. It's for you to be part of that community and know that you're not alone. It's easily accessible online, and there are some face-to-face ones, but there's quite a few online ones. And there's also the SADAG Run one that happens every second Tuesday. And it happens from 6 p.m. via Zoom. So please reach out if you want to find out more. These are just some posters of the other support groups that we have. And last but not least, it's so important to know that it's okay to not be okay, but it's so important to reach out and ask for help. Ask yourself, how are you doing today? Changing that narrative and starting the conversations, right? Connect to loved ones. Encourage your loved ones to reach out if they're not feeling well. Lead by example. So by you filling your cup, your friends and family members are going to notice this, and they're going to be like, oh my goodness, Peter is investing in his mental health. I can do this too. And I think it's so valuable to know that there's so much help and support available. So even if you have a question, any question, please reach out to our helpline and speak to our counselors. These are just a few of our social media handles, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our website.
We have Ms. Didintle Jessica, who is one of our students from what I understand, who's about to talk to us regarding her student lived experience. It turns out she's passionate about the mindset. So let us just welcome her on the stage. Didintle, the floor is yours whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to actually talk to you about the mindset. I'm very about the mindset. But just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Didintle. I just finished my economics. I'm studying towards my honors degree in economics. Has carried me. Experience was just to keep check of my mind and make sure that whatever that I allow into my mind is positive, and make sure that whatever that is negative, Bona, even if it's a negative person, I don't want anything or anybody that is negative, because my mind is my highest possession, and I make sure that I take care of it. So before I continue, or before I start with my experience, I question just to check if we are all awake. Nah? So I have a question. This question, I don't want people to go onto the box. I want you guys to raise your voice, your hand, and then I'll just check. I'll just ask you for that answer. So I think most of us read from philosophers. There are quotes there and there that are thrown. Sometimes you can hear about philosophers in the television or from the radio. So this quote that I'm going to go through right now, I need someone to tell me who said this. Nah? And please raise your hand, and so that we can see if we read philosophy and if we know philosophers. Nah? So the quote says, the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. Did you hear that? So the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he cannot are both right. So by a show of hands, that the man that thinks that he can and the man that thinks that he cannot, both right. I see hands, ne? I see Dineo. So Dineo, can you please tell us who said that?
I think it's Henry Ford.
I wanted to say, please don't Google. Did you Google? Well, no. You Googled. That's incorrect. It's not Henry. If you Google, that's the first answer that you get, so it's wrong. It's not Henry. So Bunta just said that it's Confucius. And I strongly believe that it starts in the mind. It starts in the mind. You are what you think you are. If you're going to tell yourself that you can do it, chances are, best believe you can do it. If you're going to tell yourself that you can't do it, best believe you can't do it, right? So even when I wrote an exam, guys, I felt this module, like, for me to pass or to graduate, I did one specific module for like 3 times. But every single time I went to write that module, I told myself that there's no ways. Even if I fail it again, I'll go again, but at the end, I'm going to pass. So there's so much power in the mindset. There's just so much power in what you think and what you put into your mindset. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear from my accent or my name. I'm Tswana. So I was once taught, when I'm from Rustenburg, I was taught by a teacher that so just to quick, that is that you tell yourself before you go into an interview, you tell yourself that I can do this. An exam, you tell yourself that I can do this. I'll best believe you will be able to do it, just like Confucius said. So, the thing that I was also doing in general, I would also use things like affirmations. Affirmations. Tell myself, even if outside they tell me that I'm not good looking, in my eyes, enough of me I'm good looking. If someone tells me that in my eyes tells me that I'm not, in my eyes, I could be successful, and there's no one that is going to tell me otherwise, because I told myself. Because if you don't tell yourself something, someone is going to come and tell you another thing, and you. So every single day, it's a conscious decision that you need to decide on what you stand for and what you're not going to allow into your mind. Okay. So growing up, my mother liked stories, from bedtime stories. She's a maths teacher. She would tell me stories. So that is how I normally talk to people. I tell stories, and that is how I understand. So hopefully you will understand as well the story that I'm about to tell you, which also relates to the mindset, right? So the story of 2 wolves, in the book is called The One. Okay, the author is J. Paterson. He relates the old story of the 2 wolves, right? So as the elder tells the boy, everyone has 2 wolves inside, right? One is fear. It is characterized by uncertainty, anxiety, worry, and all of the things that limit and demoralize us, right? The other is faith. It is characterized by courage, confidence, conviction, and all the things that drive us forward in life, right? So now, asked by the boy, which one wins? The elder then replied, the one that wins is the one that you're going to feed. You need to decide who are you going to feed, the wolf of fear, because everybody has those two wolves, right? Figuratively, everybody has those two wolves. There's a wolf of faith. So you need to decide, who are you going to feed? Every single day you make a conscious decision that I'm going to feed the wolf of fear. I'm not going to feed the wolf of, I'm going to feed the wolf of faith, not the wolf of fear. So it's a conscious decision that you need to make every single day. Bona, when you wake up, I'm working and I'm studying at the same time. So sometimes it's very difficult. Bona, when I wake up and I'm very tired, I remember when I would also study, you'd study at night, and then after that you need to come to work, and then after that you have assignments. I tell myself that, Didi, now I'm a star. I am a star, and I'm planning on, being very successful person. So I need to do this. I'm tired. Okay, fine, sharp. You're tired. Wake up. You tell yourself, because okay, I don't know how to say this in English. It says, like, whose baggage are you going to be? If you're going to now sleep and say, I'm tired, whose baggage are you going to be? So I told myself that there's no way that you're just going to tell yourself, okay, fine, it's tired, but the work needs to be done. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to work, it's tough, but you keep going. If you need a break, for me, this is what works. I take a young break. I go to the bathroom. I tell myself that it's fine. You're tired. We need to keep moving, because no one is coming to save you. You are your own cheerleader. No one is coming to wake you up. No one is coming to save you. So you need to feed the wolf of fear. And that is what has also helped me in my life. I see that the hands that are up, so I don't know if the hands. So I get it now. We are feeding the wolf of faith. We are not feeding the wolf of failure. Is your decision. Now going to another story. Now for me, I just telling stories because it makes sense, and I hope it is also making sense to you. There was this other time. There was a very wise man. He was very wise. So the people that lived around there, they knew that man is very. So now there's this other young boy. This young boy thinks he well. So now this young boy goes and fetches a bird. So I guess now this young boy wants to trick the old wise man. He asked this old wise man, what is in my hands, right? And now this man looks at this boy and is like, hey, well, there is your hands, right? And now the young boy is trying to trick the wise man. The young boy is trying to trick the old wise man. The young boy now tells the young man, what is this? The young man asks the old man, then if he is so wise, he must tell him the bird is alive or it's dead, right? So now the man tells this young boy that, listen here, I'll tell you that the bird is dead. You're going to set it, right? And it's going to look like I'm not wise. But now if I tell you that the bird is alive, you can break its neck and it will die, right? So the answer is in your hand. You have the freedom to choose. So what I learned from the story is that there are two wolves, isn't it? There's a wolf of fear, there's a wolf of. But it is your decision. You have the choice to either feed the one of fear or the one of failure. Just like the bird in that person's hands, the choice in his hand to either kill the bird or to set the bird alive. So everybody, like I was saying, that every single day we're faced with so many choices. It's the same as your mindset. You will be tired, yes, but you have a choice to wake up. You will be drained, yes, but you have a choice to wake up. You will feel like, hey, I failed this other module 3 times, but there was no way. I of course I cried. It's very sad to fail. I was supposed to graduate a long time ago, but I told myself that there's no way. I told myself there's no way. Now I'm not a failure. We are going round 2, round 3, round 4. It was a conscious decision that I had to tell myself. It doesn't mean that when I was writing my exam, I was not scared. When I was writing my exam, sometimes I'd be anxious. I'm reading this thing and I don't understand, and you're anxious. But back to my mind, and I'm telling myself that for me, I'm very religious. I would either have affirmations or I would also have in my mind, and I'll tell myself that God didn't give me the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. I will tell myself until I believe it. So it's up to you. No one is coming to tell you. You need to tell yourself that you can do it. All right. So just to quickly give you guys a recap, remember that if you think that you can, and if you think that you cannot, chances are you are correct. And we also need to remember that there are two wolves. There's a wolf of fear, there's a wolf of failure. And you need to also remember that the choice is in your hands. Just like that old told that young man that the choice is in your hands. You need to decide every single day. I don't know how to say that. You must say no. You must say no. I refuse to be negative. Even if you feel negative, even if you tell yourself time and time again, and best believe, for me, I just feel like everybody is bound to success, and there's just much success in this world. I believe that it's up to you. It's your choice to fix your mindset, and best believe, after you're done fixing your mindset, you'll be fine. We'll pass. Even if I failed 3 times, I passed here. I got my degree. I'm doing my honors. Even if I failed 3 times, but I told myself every single time I wrote that paper that there's no way that I'm going to let this go. I will come off Kankara. I will pass this thing, and I'll walk on that red carpet. So it's up to you. You tell yourself, even if you fall, you tell yourself, you get up, you keep moving. So that is my 2 cents for the day. That mindset is very important. Yes, we are here to tell you guys about the mindset and everything, to encourage and all of that. But every day, the ball is in your court. You decide, you choose. And you don't just choose once. You choose every day, every second. You choose, and you tell yourself that I will make it. There's no other. I keep telling people, and they look at me fine, you know, like I don't come from a very rich, come from humble beginnings. And every single time I'll tell the people that I'm not shame, and people look at me that this one, but I know that I will make it. Myself that I'll make it, and I'm willing to make it work. I told myself, no one tell me. I told myself, even if it takes a long time, I will make it at the end of the day. They don't believe me right now, and it's okay. Every single day I come to work, I go study. I come to work, I go, I'm tired. It's fine. Because I'm not going to be anybody's burden. I tell myself. So yes, I am done.
We have our own Dr. Pitswane, who's the head of counseling. She'll be doing the vote of thanks and officially closing our ceremony. Dr. P, the floor is yours.
I don't have to take time, but to thank everybody who made this day possible. Ms. Mona Mampo, we really appreciate you. We really consulted with you and hooked you into our workshop on the last minutes. And I know quite well that you should be doing your IPMS now, but you made time for us, and actually you addressed all the questions that the students were asking. We really appreciate you. The collaboration between us and the Northeastern, it should go a long way. You make it possible. We really like that and appreciate you. And Vanisha from SADC, thank you. You shared worrying statistics with us, and there are so many suicidal tendencies happening with our youth and even children. So this is really something serious. These workshops, I have really seen that they are really, really necessary. We really need to keep on engaging, because if we do not engage, people will just die on our watch. And the more we engage, people will make sense of what they are feeling, and they will be able to seek help when it is necessary. Let us keep on engaging. And yeah, I love the enthusiasm, you know. She is our student mentor. Of course, those who want to consult with her, she's always available to chat to you. She emphasized the issue of positive thinking, the power of positive thinking. There is a book on power of positive thinking. If you can deal with your thoughts, turn them into positivity, you will be able to go a long way. You know, we always say that I feel this way, I do this. It is because of what you put into your mind. The thoughts that you create into your mind, they are the ones that are affecting you to be able to function fully. But if you are able to distort how you think and change those into positivity, you will go a long way. We know that we have got the ups and downs in life, but if we can be able to manage what we put into our mind and switch on those buttons that tells us that we are not doing well, everything would go well. The sky will be, of course, the limit. So we are encouraging you to attend our workshops. And there is a link there that has been posted that says register for further support from a peer support group. Please, those who want to continue with these engagements, register there, and we will share the dates of when we are going to have another session. We may not have presenters. It will be a safe space where we will talk and share the experiences and come up with suggestions and solutions that will help you to function as a UNISA student. This is a mental health month, and we are experiencing lots of people with mental issues. Hence, we have hosted this workshop. And it also helps you as a UNISA student to be able to maneuver through your studies. If you are overwhelmed, if you are emotionally burdened, it will be hard for you to do well with your studies. Hence, us with organizing this kind of workshops. I think I have said a mouthful, and I appreciate you, our dearest students, for having taken care of yourself. By attending this, it shows that you really, really love yourself. You are taking yourself serious. Nobody can take you serious if you cannot take yourself serious. So by doing this, we really, really are very thankful to you. And we wish you all of the best as we go through this journey of your studies, as you study and throughout your course of study and throughout the year. Thank you, and have a very good day. To all our technical support, to my team. I'm so grateful to have you as my team members. Thank you for having made this workshop a success.